podcast where we are on a mission to convince you to step out of your gaming comfort zone and try something new. With that said, let's get to convincing. Last episode, Darren and I tried to convince each other to play Sonic Frontiers and Indica. Darren didn't even really need to try to convince me because I've wanted to play Sonic Frontiers purely because of the little bit I've heard of the music beforehand. I've now listened to some more songs proper, and goodness gracious, they are songs that I have unironically just straight up listened to. So, if you haven't, go check it out. And Darren, I think, was not convinced at all to play Indica because I didn't even know what it really was.
Nope. I will say that you not knowing what it was did not really convey to me that I knew what it was.
It was bizarre.
And I think that's, yeah, but I mean, I could have fever dreams on my own without doing it in my free time. So I will abstain from that one.
That's fair. Darren, what is our game for today?
Ooh, this week I will be attempting to convince Ryan to play SD Gundam Battle Alliance. And Ryan's got some weird thing that he's being super secretive about.
It's going to be a time. My game is Gloomhaven, based on the, as far as I'm aware, very popular board game of the same name. Like a 99% carryover rate as far as similarities and things. But before we get there, I had the idea to continue our journey of how well we know each other, which I think is fairly well. And we're going to do a game of Would You Rather Gaming Edition. So for those who don't know, there are going to be a series of, or not Would You Rather, sorry, who is more likely to. We're going to ask a series of questions of who is more likely to do this, and we are going to write down our answer and see if we agree on who is more likely to do the thing. So let's start with...
And where this gets really fun is that the way that we record now, I can't even see Ryan at all. So I'll have no idea what he writes, but he'll see what I write.
Yeah, normally we do stream together, but we are, full disclosure, we're not doing it live like we normally do, because it's been a heck of a weekend. But beside that, Darren, who do you think is more likely? Now, keep in mind, this is something that we both might do, but who is more likely to rage quit after losing, whether it's multiplayer, single player, or whatever? I have my answer. I wrote Darren. 110%. Absolutely.
Come on.
You don't even kind of have the patience it takes to play a lot of games.
That's why I have not played a Call of Duty, really, actually really played a Call of Duty since Black Ops 2.
Black Ops 2.
Maybe Modern Warfare 3, maybe.
The Black Ops 2 was my last, because that was the game where I had my 54 and 10 match, where I was like, that's peak, that's it. I'll never do that again.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to play Advanced Warfare, but I just couldn't. I was getting so angry, and I was in grad school at the time, and I had a bunch of other life stuff going on, and I sat there, and I'm like, okay, why am I doing this to myself? That's why I didn't play Rocket League anymore. It's so much. No.
Playing against other people that I know are going to be better than me, that's an automatic, yeah, I'm good.
Oh, yeah, hard no.
Hard pass. All right, who is more likely to collect more physical copies of games? That's a thinker. That's an interesting one.
That used to be a really easy answer, and I feel like that has maybe changed some now.
I have my answer. I have my answer. I'm curious to know what you'll say. All right. I wrote me. I wrote me. I love collecting physical games. In fact, we had a conversation about this like 2 days
Mm-hmm.
ago, where I was like, I want to
Mm-hmm.
get Trails in the Sky for the Switch because I want to
Mm-hmm.
build up my Switch 2 collection, and you were like, nah, just get it. So for those who
Well,
don't,
so specifically what you said is I want to build up my Switch 2 library. That simply means that you would own the game for it. That doesn't mean that you would buy a physical edition.
that's but what I meant was physical because so for those who don't know, the PlayStation Portal, which was like the remote play handheld for PlayStation, now has the ability to play a lot of, not all of, I don't believe, but a lot of your digital games that you get for PlayStation. So it is
Mm-hmm.
now doing what people wanted it to do when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
So that our conversation was like it has made some choices harder on what do
Yeah.
I want to get things for.
The only reason that I said me because I like lately you've definitely been more on board with buying physical editions than you perhaps ever used to be. I said me because there was a large point in time where I refused to buy a digital edition ever.
Yeah, that's true.
And like for years and like generations and generations of games, I would not buy digital anythings ever. And it really wasn't until the tail end of the Switch 1 that I was even willing to entertain digital.
You're not wrong. We've been physical for forever, and the
It's
the
true.
the notion of companies starting to go like digital only like makes me sick.
Yep.
I don't want that.
No.
Which is why the digital PS5, I'm an immediate no, no,
No.
because you buy a
Absolutely not.
digital PS5 and then your collection of PS4 and all that games are now completely moot. Like you're done.
Mhm.
Like I don't
Mhm.
want that. So
Nope.
yeah, I'm physical all the way. All right, who is more likely to forget the controls mid game? I panic.
There's absolutely no two ways about that one.
I
Um
panic.
yeah. Yeah, you
once
do.
once I'm in flow state, I'm fine. But it's
For like a
the
short while.
the, the amount of times like I push a button, I'm like, oh wait, that's what that does.
Oh man. Yeah.
It's
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah,
oh,
no, yeah.
this will be interesting. Who is more likely to cry when their favorite character dies in a game? That's a toughie. And I think my answer in my mind is pretty yeah, no, me 100%. 100%.
Mhm.
I'm curious though. When was the last time you cried over a character, Dan?
Why don't
If
you ask me a better question, which is like, when is the last time I cried ever?
oh, fair. Okay, tears welling or that lump in your throat, I count that. Still? No? I was gonna start shouting out some moments in games, and I was like, nope, those are spoilers. But like nothing, nothing recently. Wow, for me, yeah, no, it Last of Us the opening broke me. 100%. The opening of Last of Us, multiple moments in The Last of Us, absolutely terrible. Dude, granted I was a teenager, but I cried at the ending of Kingdom Hearts 1. I've talked about that before. I will never be ashamed of that. That is a beautifully done ending. Um, Here's the issue, though. Recently, I have found myself becoming almost jaded and cynical when playing games, and the moment I
Yeah.
get attached to a character, I'm like, they're dead. And
Uh-huh.
my brain immediately detaches because I don't want to get attached and get sad when they die.
To be fair, that's more, I think, a testament to maybe the types of games you've been playing lately.
Sure,
Because,
that's
like,
fair.
if I get really attached to my Vaporeon in Pokemon, I'm not worried about it dying. You know what I mean?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. All right, so we'll do one more. We'll do one more. I like
Mhm.
this game. This is fun. We'll have to do this like on a stream
Uh-huh.
with get
Uh-huh.
some. I'm curious to see like what people in chat would say. But who is more likely to forget that they're live and say something embarrassing? Man, I think this answer. Dang it! I wrote me too. I wrote me too. Because here's the issue with my brain. Sometimes it doesn't work good, and I just say, and you know, it just falls out.
Yeah.
It's a problem. I do not think before I speak 99%
No.
of the time.
And like that's okay.
I've
It's
made your
just
jaw drop multiple times because some of the things I've said without thinking. There is a
yeah.
moment that is not that is NSFW, a question I asked you years ago, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I
For
wish.
the sake of intentional ambiguity for the audience, it was the type of question that I was effectively begged not to bring up during my best man speech at his wedding. And I
It
think I think we kind of have to leave it there. Um, but oh man, that to this day just
I still quote it to this day, by the way. So
oh, don't do that.
it's just like butter, you know. Um, so
Yeah.
and those two
Yeah.
words are exactly where we'll leave it. But now I am so curious. When
Yeah,
you talked about Gundam last week, you mentioned that
absolutely.
I think it was an action RPG.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
So is it Dynasty Warrior style? Like what is that called? Is that wuxia? Is or what is that?
I can't remember. I used to
Musho.
know.
I want to say
Mushoku Tensei. No.
no, Dynasty Warrior style game name. So it's called uh Crowd
Muso.
Brawlers. Moose. It is Moose.
Muso.
I thought it started with an M. So yeah, is it like is it a Muso?
Um I yeah, I guess we could probably call it that, but more small scale. Like whereas with Dynasty Warriors it's like crowds and crowds of like massive amounts of people that you just mow through. Here it's maybe, depending on the stage and the sequence that you're going through. I mean, you might have between 4 and maybe 7 ads with like a boss that you
Hmm.
have to deal with of some way, whether it's like a stage boss or like a boss with a big health bar at the top. Um, First things first, are you like sweepingly familiar with the Gundam franchise? Like, have you watched many series of Gundam? Are
I
you familiar at all?
I watched the releases loosely back on Toonami.
Okay.
That
Do
was
you
an Adult
remember
Swim.
any of the series that you might have watched?
That was Toonami, not Adult Swim. Yeah.
Correct. It was Toonami. It was midday.
Um. No. Honestly, there are times where I mix up like Voltron, I
Hmm.
think Saint Seiya, Gundam, like all those mech shows that
Saint
came
Seiya's
on.
not a
Just
mech
like
show.
no, not Saint. I'm Gundam, Voltron, and there was another one that was similar. But yeah, like all those shows ran together. So if you were to be like, do you remember this character? Not really. But is it
Okay.
based off the one that was on Toonami?
So there are many, many, many Gundam series. You kind of got to experience that firsthand this past weekend when we were going through anime openings, and you saw just how many
Yeah,
different Gundam series had openings on the most listened to like ever.
yeah.
Um, so in this game, so the SD is an art style that they started to do I want to say early 2000s is
Okay.
when the first like SD Gundam series came on. That may be incorrect, at least in America, because that did used to be on Toonami once upon a time. Um, and it stands for, because I always forget that SD is actually a an acronym, super deformed. So think of this as more of like a chibi Gundam game. Is probably the way I
Oh.
would explain it, as opposed to like full size with logical human proportions, more condensed, chibi slash like pop figure type.
Okay.
Um, and you start playing through a stage, and then all of a sudden this voice comes in and it's like staticky, and you can tell, like, I was not familiar with the Gundam franchise that this particular opening sequence came through. But you're playing through, and this weird voice you can tell is not supposed to come through. And all of a sudden, you and the captain who is like leading your squad or like commanding your squad from afar in like the
Hmm.
tactical way get like brought to some different plane. And in this plane, it's a place, apparently a place called the G Universe.
G unit.
You basically play, you're required to lead your Gundams through these different events that have happened in different Gundam timelines, because something is happening that is now changing the timeline from what is considered canon in the Gundam world. And
Oh,
so
so
it takes you through fights and sequences from so many different Gundam series. I don't even actually have a count on it, but it is like, for the people who are aware, like Gundam Wing, G Gundam, some of the SD Gundams, Gundam Seed, Gundam Unicorn, like all of those Gundam series,
oh,
you play through different fight sequences through them as this Gundam. Now, in the game, like it is very action RPG. So you have your melee attacks, you have a dash, you have a guard that, of course, if you guard at exactly the right time, you get a perfect guard, which effectively
nice,
can be a parry depending
nice.
on what your gear load is. You have a couple different long range options that have ammunition that recharge just over time, so you don't have to worry about picking up ammo. And so basically you have to go through and get good at the mobility of your Gundams to be able to succeed at these stages. Each Gundam is characterized into three, I believe, yeah, three, I guess, categories. So you have your melee, you have your, I think they're called sharpshooter, or you have an all-rounder, which obviously doesn't excel at either but can do both. And then from there, as you progress through, you unlock more and more Gundams that fall into these categories. You even unlock some like Gundams that people who watch Gundam would be very excited about. So for me, my favorite Gundam series was G Gundam. I was such a big fan of Shining Gundam and then Burning Gundam later. The I have the English voice actor screaming in my head the name of his signature attack in Burning Gundam, which now in retrospect is really, really funny, because now I feel like if I was going to yell out erupting burning finger at somebody, that means I'm about to absolutely violate them in some way, which is so funny now that I think about it. I probably haven't thought about that out loud in 20
Thousand years
years,
of
but
pain.
like, no, erupting burning finger, absolutely. Um, God bless. But so you get them, and you can build those Gundams as your main Gundam. You can build supports, and you go through these stages that play like very. They pretty much play the way you would expect a clunky mech action RPG to play. But what really impressed me with it is, from a maneuverability perspective, from a like a quality of combat perspective, I feel like it's not too far from maybe like what Demon Machina has refined, right? So
I
maybe a more simplified version of like a Demon Machina or an Armored Core, or what some of those better known mech franchises have really done.
Well, the one mech franchise, like I have a soft spot for mech games. I don't play them that often because I feel like there aren't
Hmm.
a ton that speak out to me. But like
Sure.
Armored Core 6, The Fires of Rubicon, FromSoft's newest Armored Core, I've definitely been interested in trying that out. But the one that I always loved, you may not have heard of it, but it's called Zone
Hmm.
of the Enders. Zone
Mm.
of the Enders was a Hideo Kojima mech game, and it had some of the most fluid, best feeling mech gameplay. And they released the
Hmm.
VR version of it, and then they remastered them and re-released them. I believe they did it. That that was peak mech gameplay. So, what does you said clunky, but does the mech feel heavy? Does it feel like you're
Kind
controlling a
of.
person, but like as like a mech? Like how tight are we talking here?
See, that's hard to say. I think it feels very similar to what you would have expected it to feel like as a human controlling a mech in the suit. So you
Mm,
can't just like spam the attack button over and over and expect it to just cut through everything across the board. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I would say the response times feel very authentic, is probably the best way that I can think of putting it. But what it did is it's as you progress through and defeat stages, defeat other Gundams, whatever. Um, I guess mobile suits is what I should be calling them.
Sure.
Um, you get the currency. And the currency is actually more or less both a currency and your experience. So you level up 4 different stats per Gundam. Let me see if I can pull those up really quick because I forget. I There we go. Physical melee, physical ranged, beam melee, and beam ranged.
Okay.
Um, but I believe you also increase your hit points in some way. Well, I don't know, but each time you upgrade those individual things, yeah, there we go. It's HP, your boost, so how long you can boost and have energy for, your melee and your ranged attacks. That's what we got. Okay.
Is there air
And then there's
combat?
other hidden stats. There is absolutely air combos
Okay.
because your mechs might have launchers that will actually launch people into the air so that you can continue melee comboing in the air. There's any variety of ranged weaponry from your normal like projectile bases to like larger explosions that you can set off. Each mech has like a special ability that you build up a meter and then use. I mean, it's I was very surprised by how good this felt and how customizable things were. I mean, there's even a whole separate thing that is pilot skills that then you can equip to your mech, and but they're unique to the pilot.
Oh.
There's other skills that you can give the mobile suit that might increase or decrease certain aspects of them. And then of course where you put your experience matters relative to what is that individual mobile suit good at, right? So if you have a sharpshooter mobile suit, do you want to put a bunch of points into melee because you want them to be able to be a bit more well-rounded, or do you just full send and commit to being ranged combat because that's what you like?
Do you pick the what's the point of picking the pilot other than their abilities? Like does it affect story or anything? Do you change it every mission?
So the reason why you do is because the pilots are characters from other Gundam franchises.
Sure.
Now, you really only choose the pilots, like you are you. The main character is the main character, and that's again, I'm not familiar with the series that he may have come from, but your squad mates, you have 2 squad mates. Those pilots you pick, and then you gain what looks like affinity points that or like a relationship point between them and your pilot. I haven't even figured out what that does, but there's a whole gauge that is you want to build up your, I guess, affinity with your squad pilots and your main character. So that's a whole system that's built in. And then this applies more to people who aren't me. You can be your character online with friends who are participating in the same fights as you,
Ooh, your
controlling their
favorite.
characters. Yeah, love that. So, like, I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do in a game that I honestly knew nothing about prior to this. I just know I like Gundam.
Sure.
Why not see what a Gundam action RPG plays like? But I mean, this game really surprised me pleasantly between I'm not going to say music that sits here and makes me go, "Hey, it's like Sonic Frontier, you need to play it." But it's not nothing music either.
Serviceable or beyond serviceable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What I will say, the only knock that I might have, and it's entirely dependent on who you are and what your preferences are, all of the voice acting in the game is Japanese. No exceptions.
I I mean,
So,
you know, I know that you're
I
saying
do.
that for anybody listening and not for me.
Yes, absolutely. Um, I think it was all great. It's all wonderful. It's probably really faithful to the anime and the different series they're in. I just know there will be some people that bothers. But for me personally, I mean, I have played many anime franchise video games, and I feel like I can pretty confidently and comfortably say that this is my favorite I've ever played. And that
Wow.
is admittedly largely due to the fact that I don't enjoy arena brawlers,
Can we?
right? So, like,
Okay, you
yes,
can
I know
we?
this is something we've talked about.
It makes me so mad about the
Hmm.
potential that so many anime have for game adaptations, and everyone is an arena brawler, and it doesn't need to be. I know this is an ice cold
Except,
take, but it doesn't need to
except,
be.
except for the one Bleach game I ever played, which was a Muso, and the more recent One Piece games, which have been more RPG.
Look, but do that.
Yeah,
Anime
like
are
let us
ripe
explore the world.
for One Piece especially, but like anime is Legacy of Goku. Those games were so good.
And let's not even pretend like Legacy of Goku wasn't a Game Boy Advance game.
It was, and it was amazing.
It was so good.
Like, make me play Luffy and explore the sea. Give me a
Hmm.
true pirate One Piece game. I'm so in. I don't need a fighting game. There's a fighting game for every anime. Eden
Nope.
Zero just dropped a game, and it wasn't well received, but it was in a fighting game.
Yep. I
Oh,
mean, there's so many. Like, give me a free run game where I can just play through the world and like do stuff and let it be story and narrative driven.
I it's
I just
it's it's
there's so many.
it's untapped potential. But anyway,
It is.
so you're putting this above like Budokai Tenkaichi and all those. That
Yeah.
is now
And
that's a
now
hot take.
that for me is purely due to my own proclivity that I will always play anything RPG-ish over anything that is fighting game at its core. And I love Budokai 2 is one of my favorite is probably my favorite fighting game of all time, right up there with like Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Naturally,
And then like I feel like Smash has its own category now, right?
Smash is its own thing.
But as far as like true fighting games are concerned, Budokai 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 are my two favorites. But even still, they're fighting games, right? I would rather give me a game with characters and an original story and progression and things like that. I'll take that every single time. Every single time.
Okay.
Give me stories with characters that are familiar, in worlds that are familiar, but give me the ability to play through different scenarios that have changed and there's some originality and flavor to it.
Well,
You know
okay.
what I mean?
So I'm so glad that we're really getting into anime in this episode. But
Mm.
there was that one game, and I can never remember if it's One Piece World or One Piece Odyssey. But there is a One Piece RPG that took different stories, and I think it like modifies them. Like you go back to different events in the One Piece timeline and like interact with it, but it's different. Something like that. I can't remember what that is. It's like it's either One
Well, I
Piece World
mean,
Seeker or One Piece Odyssey, and I don't remember what it is. But that's interesting. I would do that 10 times out of 10 over a daggone arena fighter.
I'm pretty sure One Piece Odyssey was an original story.
then it might be One Piece World Seeker. Because there was definitely a One Piece game where I was just
Yeah.
like looking up stuff on it, and I looked at it, I was like, oh, I could play this because it's not spoiling anything, because it goes through different stories, and I think it like changes stuff about them. But anyway, about that, I am on Whole Cake Island. For anybody who knows what that is, I am 2 arcs away, which granted, in real world time is 6 years, but I am 2 arcs away from catching up to One Piece proper. So, you know, that's something that I could get into, is maybe we could do like a One Piece episode or something.
Yeah.
Because One Piece Pirate Warriors, Arena Fighter. But
Yeah.
anything else to say that stood out to you? I mean, as far as like, were you engaged in the story? Do you feel like the
Yeah,
progression was nice? Like, it was worth it?
I mean, definitely. If not for the fact that I've just got so much else to play, I would absolutely have sat down and really like been interested to see where all this goes. Because I mean, this game seems to be well enough received that people have made like tier lists
Mm.
on what Gundams are the best for what. And if people are attached to an IP enough to make tier lists of it, there's got to be more to it than what I've even seen.
I mean, yeah, I'm surely convinced, and there are. They're not. It's not really a word. It's an acronym, but a word and
Mm.
an acronym that will pretty much be almost instant buy-in for me.
Mm-hmm.
Competent ARPG. If you give me those words, I'm gonna be in most of the time. Like,
And competent, I can safely say, I simple, right? And I don't want to overstress like simple. It is very simple, right? The UI in between stages simple. Couple menus that you can click through, things that you can sell, money. You get new mobile suits by collecting blueprints that you just acquire through completing certain things. But even this game includes a tutorial that's worth doing because there's rewards for it.
oh, that's a worthwhile tutorial. Is nice.
It is. When's the
Yeah.
last time you played one of those? I mean,
Uh,
God.
Elden Ring.
Expedition 33.
Yeah. But no, I'm if in the uh plethora of experiences that I have to have, yeah, I'll keep an eye for that for sure. Now, well, people will understand why I mentioned anime after this segment, but
Hmm.
mine goes to the opposite. You said simple, right? Mine goes
Hmm.
like the opposite side. I'm curious,
Sure.
Darren, about how much time were you able to put into your game? A couple
I
hours.
believe I put
Something?
about, like 4 or
Okay.
so.
I put about like 1.5 to 2,
Okay.
and it wasn't because I didn't want to per se. I This game is mission based, so let me take a step back before I get there. Gloomhaven is a board game that is basically like D&D, like, for people who
Yeah.
don't have a DM or want to like truly play D&D. It is a mission-based board games, and there are so many missions to do. Like, it's a Gloomhaven campaign can last as long as a regular D&D campaign, and it is a board game. Like, I have
Okay.
the expansion, the it's a single player expansion, but it can be played with multiple people.
Hmm.
Called Jaws of the Lion, and it's super cool. It's got like a card based system, and you have encounters and things, and you have to make choices, and the choice that you make gives you different outcomes. So that's the general stage. It's a mission story based tabletop RPG that
Okay.
has been um, lovingly transitioned to the video game world. And I was curious, and you'll see why I had to do this in a second. But I looked up some information on the game, and I saw on a Reddit. I think it might have been the Gloomhaven subreddit, that basically the video game is 99% accurate to the board game. So if you're playing the video game, you're experiencing what the board game is.
Yeah.
So I put like an hour and a half to 2 hours into this game. I got through one mission. Keep in mind, each mission, as far as I got to, was just a series of a couple of fights. And I couldn't progress past that. Because this game is so hard. It is hard. But let me tell you something. When I had to redo the first mission like 5-6 times. Because I'm like, what am I doing? I'm doing something wrong. Because the way the game works is at the beginning of the game, you pick your mercenaries. You can pick up to 4, but the game tells you, like, keep in mind, the more mercenaries you pick, the more combat you're going to have to do. Like, the more enemies you'll have to fight in the combat. So, in my, like, oh, whatever, I just won't do 4, I'll do 3. So, I picked my 3. I picked, like, the equivalent of a barbarian, a mage, and, like, a druid, basically. So I get to the first mission, and it's just one room, and in each room there's a door that progresses you to the next thing. And so I get to the first mission with my 3 characters, and there's like 8 or 9 dudes that just pop up on the other side of the map, and I'm like, oh, this is easy. This is whatever. So what you do is it is a card-based battle system, and each card has 2 halves. So you build your deck, and when you play, you have your whole hand at your disposal, and you pick 2 cards around per character. And what you have to do is you have to pick your 2 cards, and you play. Like I said, each card has 2 halves that do different things. Like one half allows your character to move. One half does your character to deal damage. You can modify that damage with certain things that you have. You can attack multiple hexes because it's a hex-based system. Like, just a bunch of different abilities. What you do when you choose your 2 cards is you have to choose one half of one of those cards. So, for example, let's say I choose the top half that does damage of one of the cards I chose. And then when I do that, the other card I pick, I have to use the bottom half of that card. You can't use 2 top halves.
I see.
So you have to pick a top half and a bottom half of those 2 cards. You have to mix and match. You cannot do top, bottom, bottom. So I didn't know that at first. So I went into the combat, and I was just putzing around because the tutorial is a set of menus that you have to seek out and find in order to figure out how this stuff works. Like, it doesn't be like, this is how combat works. Like, I had to just figure that joint out.
Okay.
The tutorial walked me through, like, how to pick characters and what the cards meant, and it showed me all that. But once combat started, it was like, hey, have fun. I was like, all right. So what I didn't realize when I was playing my cards is there's a little card symbol with like a flame coming out of the card on certain halves of the cards. And I noticed that those symbols happen to be on the abilities that were particularly good. Like, one of the cards was like move 8 hexes when the average movement was like 3 or 4. There was a card that was like deal 6 damage plus something else, and then that had that on there when your average damage is like 2 to 3. What I didn't realize is whenever you use the ability that has that little flaming thing on it, that card is burned and gone for the entire rest of that scenario. I didn't realize that at first, so obviously I'm going into this combat, and I'm like, oh, I 6 damage when the enemies are sitting at like 3, 4, 5 health? Bet. That's a one-shot. I didn't realize that card was just gone for the rest of the combat. So I was wasting these strong cards on these weak enemies. Now keep in mind, when you use a card, it gets discarded unless you burn it, which you can do. That card is gone until you either short rest or long rest, which you can do mid-combat. When you short rest, you get all your discarded cards back, but you have to burn one of them. So whenever you short rest, you have to discard one of your cards. When you short rest, it auto-selects it for you, so you don't know what card you're going to have to get rid of. You have the option of taking a 1 point of damage to have it select a different card that you'd burn. When you long rest, you get 2 health points back, all your discarded cards come back, and you get to pick which card you get to burn. But that's your turn, is long resting. Short rest, the benefit is you don't have to waste the turn doing it. You just get your cards back immediately. There was one class, I chose the spellcasting class, because the spellcasting class had the ability that once per combat or scenario, they could unburn all of the cards that they had burned. So I was able to be more strategic with them. But did you hear that little thing I said earlier? Because this is what got me for the first 4 times I did it. Darren, I need you to keep in mind, I did this on story mode. At first, I was like, oh, normal, whatever, didn't work. Turned it down to easy, still getting clapped. I'm like, all right, story mode. It still took me 3 more times. But I did do it. But did you hear that little thing I said earlier about how their movement is one of the things that your cards can let you do? So what that means is that if you short rest and you have to burn your movement cards, you can't move. I didn't know that. I was just like, I entered this first room and I was like, oh, I just got to kill everything. I don't care that much about moving. Like, my position is set. I'm fine. So I killed everything in the room and the combat kept going. And I'm like, okay, they're all dead. Do I have to loot everything? Oh, by the way, picking up loot is either you have to end your turn on top of it or use the card that has the loot option.
Sure.
And so I finished the first room. I have to get to the door. There's a whole other room. And most of my movement cards are gone. So if your cards are gone and you can't move and you have to burn through your cards, your character becomes exhausted. They're done for the scenario. So I exhausted all my characters the first time. And I was like, that didn't work. Let me try that again. I try a second time. I kill everything. I get into the second room. There's 3 or 4 dudes in there after the 8 or 9 that I just fought in the other room. I'm tapped out of most of my resources. So I'm like, bump it. So I go back, try a third time. I get through the first 2 rooms, use most of my resources, but I'm like, all right, bet. There's another door into the boss room. And I'm like, that wasn't it. There's more. So I'm sitting here like, how am I supposed to use my resources? Like, this isn't an RPG. This is a puzzle game at this point.
Geez.
Like, because you have to be like 2 or 3 steps ahead to really be able to get through these scenarios.
Yeah.
You really have to plan. That is the one thing I would give this credit for, is this game, it's not easy, but once you get a hold of the mechanics, which, if this was a game that I was, playing, I could have, but because I was playing it for the show and trying to see as much as possible, I'm sitting there and I'm like, this feels impossible. It feels like the odds are stacked against me. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th time, I went from 3 mercenaries down to 2.
Mm-hmm.
When I got into that first combat, there were only 3 dudes in that first room. So that was more manageable. That was how I got through the first scenario, and then it was 2 or 3 in the second room and then 4 in the final. But I managed to do it.
Sure.
But there's depth to this game, because there's also Gloomhaven is the city. When you're on the way to missions, you can hit random encounters and you get to make a choice. There was this traveling merchant that I could interact with, and I had the chance to offer help for him. And I got some gold for it that I could split between my party, but it made us exhausted. And I think exhaustion impacts your cards somehow. So there's I could have just left him behind. I don't know what that would have done. But it's not always correct choice scenarios. Like it's not like it's a scenario where like there's a clear cut answer. It's like, what benefit and what drawback do you want? Now, I finished that first mission, and I had the option to continue immediately to the second one. Keep in mind, all your cards and stuff are back. But the benefit from going from the first mission right to the second was that the game tells you that you can skip any encounters. Like, you won't have any encounters to risk getting a detriment to your party if you go straight to the second one. So you have to... This is a game of true resource management. Like, truly managing your resources. You have to be smart. The one thing that I wasn't expecting is I was partially hoping that this was going to be like Power Fantasy, but you had to really think about what it was you wanted to do. And it was challenging. I felt really good when I finished that first combat scene, but I'm sitting there like, I felt like I'm truly battling against all odds here, because combat is still random. That 6-3 whatever damage, you have a risk of not damaging at all. Which, in all fairness, in D&D, there's a risk of missing.
Sure. Of course.
But what happens is when you attack, there's a modifier card that you pick up, and you have a risk of rolling a ×0, ×1, or ×2. So you could deal double damage. So that...
Or 0.
Or 0, which is a miss.
Sure.
Which, that happens. So, that's like the combat. Before you get into combat, you have a chance to reassess your cards, and you can level up your cards and make them stronger. You have like mini goals in each combat scenario, where one of the scenarios is this character opens a door at the end of a room of combat, or this character picks up so many piles of gold, like things like that give you perk points that you can use. So that was an interesting twist. The one thing that I will say, it felt like it was unattainable, because I'm sitting there and like one of the things was pick up 5 things to loot, and I'm like, that would require a lot of movement, and I'm limited on movement as it is.
Sure.
So how am I supposed to do that when my movement is so limited? I'm playing on the easiest mode. I'm playing on the story mode, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, how am I supposed to go around and pick up loot when I know that I am very limited in how much I can move?
Yeah.
So it was a challenge and a half, but I would say if you are interested in, if you're the kind of gamer that like feels like a lot of games are too easy, and honestly, there are a lot of games that are. Yeah. But this game will hold you down and stomp your teeth and think nothing of it.
So I want to real quick make a call back to who is more likely to. Which of us was more likely to rage quit a game?
It wasn't me.
Right. So why would we think in any world that I would want to play this?
So here's the thing that like I 100% made the mistake on. In my brain, right? I think
Did you think it was going to be like Baldur's Gate type of deal?
I did, but what I tend to do, it's to my detriment a lot of the time. When I'm playing games and there's like a big bad and there's a bunch of ads, which for those who don't know is like minions basically, I tend to focus all fire on the big bad. Take them out as quick as possible.
Oh, no.
And I was doing that in the second level. I did that, and it wasn't until after I finished and I lost that level, I was like, I tweaked. I made the mistake.
Yeah.
So my losses were 100% me just not thinking ahead. Absolutely, I'll take the full blame, but still, it
resource
felt,
management though.
it felt like there wasn't a ton of room for mistakes, even on story mode.
Yeah.
And yeah, so going back to Reddit, I looked up the game because I was like, what am I doing wrong? Why is this so
Sure.
hard? And the first post I found was, why is this game so hard? And all the comments were
Eh,
like, just so you're aware, the first 2 missions of the game are the hardest in the entire game. Because after that point, your mercenaries start getting gear. You can start buying things that
oh,
make you better. You can start upgrading your cards and all this and that. And I'm like,
sure.
so there's a high barrier for entry, is what I'm hearing. And so
Yeah,
yeah,
all right.
it was rough, man. I got through the first 1.5 missions.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that does track.
Are you convinced?
Oh boy. I got to be honest with you. No.
Oh
No, I'm
man, I
not.
thought you would
Um,
be.
yeah, I know. I know you did. No. No, that sounds infuriating.
You are smarter than I am, so you would most likely be able to tactically get yourself out of the situations that I can't. I don't think
Sure.
tactically. I,
And like that's true, but
I
like
do checkers, not chess.
one of my well, and I love chess, but like one of my least favorite aspects of a lot of games that I like to play is I don't love resource management as a game mechanic.
Sure, which is why you don't do survival horror.
Correct.
Yeah,
It's why I don't really do a lot of survival like games at all. Truly,
I
I
mean
mean,
I don't
like
either. Like
even
crafting.
horror aside, yeah, no, I don't. I don't enjoy resource management. It's actually there's a certain degree of resource management in Borderlands 4 that I consider my least favorite part of the game by far.
Mark is junk. Mark is
Um,
junk. Mark is junk.
it's not even that. It's when you once you've beat the game and you unlock the ability to like to use firmware on things, so those other skills that you've seen pop up,
Yeah.
like high caliber, things like that, you gain the ability to pull them off of one piece of equipment and put it onto another. And the easiest way to do that is to find like, green and blue rarity stuff that has the firmware you want on it.
Hmm.
But then I have to go out of my way to not mark that stuff as junk. It's just I don't enjoy resource management as a forced mechanic. I
That's
just
fair.
I just don't.
That's fair. Um, but yeah. So with that said, I wanted to have a quick rundown of one a change that we're considering doing. And I don't even know if
Yeah.
it's considering at this point, but I'd be curious to see how it went. But before we get there, the Japan had a state of play today,
Yes.
and there were some interesting announcements. There was one that made a lot of people. I'm seeing it making the rounds on social media already.
Hmm.
There was a point in the state of play that was like, all right, and now for Square Enix with a fan favorite, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, here it is. Here's Kingdom Hearts. Here's the next Final Fantasy. Here's the next anything. Here's the next whatever. Octopath Traveler 0. It's like, come on, man. A beloved series. Like, yes, Octopath is beloved, but like, you
It
don't
is.
just say that, dude.
You don't. You can't do that.
And now
I
an
oh
announcement from
man.
Octopath Traveler. Like, that would be like, well, whatever.
Sure.
So, I noticed that there were quite a few horror games, so I know not up your alley.
Nope.
There was one for a roguelike action game called Blaze Blue Entropy Effect X, which
A
is a
Blaze
spin-off,
Blue
which is a
roguelike?
spin-off of Blaze Blue. Yep, which
Huh.
looks interesting. It the summary on the PlayStation blog says that the game lets you craft your own playstyle through deep character build options. Then there was the 2 Broken Lore announcements. There's a couple of cozy games that they announced that your fiance may be interested in.
Sure.
The one that was interesting was called Damon and Baby, which I texted you about, and it is a twin stick looter shooter.
Hmm.
which that could be
Twin
interesting.
stick is interesting.
Digimon, the newest game, Time Stranger, got a DLC announcement that'll release this winter, so I think in January. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined got some more stuff dropped. Like we saw more things for that really would only matter to somebody who plays and remembered Dragon Quest VII, which I'm not one. I played Sentinel of the Starry Skies, which I think was 8 back on 3DS, maybe
9, I
DS.
think.
It might have been
I
9.
think that was 9.
And then I beat 11. So like other than those two, I didn't really
9.
do Dragon Quest. Okay, I
Yeah,
love
my first one was 8 on the PlayStation 2.
which isn't a lot. That a lot of people's like up there for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it was. I think it's the first sidebar, but I think it's the first one where we really got to see Dragon Quest as an identity, where it kind of looked like it was intentionally trying not to just be an Akira Toriyama Final Fantasy game.
fair. That's fair. I think 11 has usurped a lot of 8's popularity though, but I liked 11 a lot. 11 was awesome.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
a Fatal Frame 2 remake. This one was interesting because this one I don't know if we're gonna get this one because the name is just straight up in Japanese. Kyoran Makaisum. Launching January 29th. It is a new 3D action RPG from the Disgaea team. Turn defeated enemies into 16 types of familiars, from dragons to the alluring Impusa, then command or transform them into powerful weapons to reclaim your stolen pudding.
Not my pudding.
Yes, your pudding.
Oh man.
So that is from the
I
Disgaea
need to
team.
beat the Empusa to get my pudding. I'm in.
There was some new footage from Marvel Tokon, the new fighting game. And they showed off gameplay for Ghost Rider and Spider-Man. And it is the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider, not Johnny Blaze.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's kind of fun.
It is fun. I was distracted with something when they announced, but they gave a reason why they're using the Robbie Reyes version of Ghost Rider. But Monster Hunter Wilds, which I think has fallen off most people's radars at this point. I forgot that game came out this year and I played it.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody's still there with it. And then the one that I texted you about that you might be interested in, called Nevergrave, The Witch and the Curse. It is a 2D roguelike, highlighting unique attack patterns and special mechanics with the game's bosses, is what the trailer did. Octopath Traveler 0, the demo dropped on that announcement before, and it's a 3-hour demo. And your progress will carry over to the full game, which releases in about 3 weeks from now. SpongeBob is coming to Sonic Racing Crossworlds.
Amazing. Well, that's the crossover we always wanted.
It's the one we never knew we needed.
Fanfic writers are going crazy.
Now, here is the thing that stood out to me. The one thing that was cool was there's a gaming monitor designed for PS5 games that has a DualSense charging hook. With a 27-inch monitor with quad high def it's a 2560 by 1440. So HDR.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
But the announcement that stood out to me was a game called Wandering Sword, which I've had my eye on Steam for quite some time. It is a full Japanese voiceover strategy pixel art RPG. And
that's a lot of words in succession.
It says it features dual battle modes, 20 endings shaped by your choices. I don't know what dual battle modes is. I don't know if it's like a mix of like real time and strategy. I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Sure.
But 20 endings in this game. So those are the potentially big announcements. We will keep an eye on them, and because some of these are, I think Wandering Sword has me like the most excited.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to watch the direct because obviously I was working at the time, so I'll have to do something.
Yeah, I mean it's quick. I think it was like 30 minutes at most, if that long.
Sure.
What we didn't talk about, Darren, who developed your game? I totally forgot that we didn't talk about this.
Bamco. I believe.
Oh, it was Bamco. Okay, Bandai Namco.
Yeah.
Nice. Mine was developed by Flaming Fowl Studios. I looked them up, and they have one other game I've never heard of as a credit to their name called
Okay.
Fable Fortune. I don't believe it's tied into, like, actual Fable, as far as I'm aware. Oh, it was a free-to-play digital collectible card game set in the Fable universe, so it was tied to Fable.
Uh,
And that is just some quick news. Now, as far as going forward, Darren and I, for full transparency, are straying away from doing episodes with games on Game Pass because of the price hike and choice that Xbox has made with Game Pass. And so just out of principle, we're trying to just step away from doing episodes on games on there. And to be quite frank, that has
limited us.
chunked
Yeah.
the games that we can that we can really talk about. So going forward, I had an idea of one on PS Plus. They have the option of playing downloading a game's trial, and you have like full access to the free game for a certain amount of time. So trying that, seeing if I think that'd be interesting to try and convince each other to like just straight up buy the game once the tutorial runs out or something. But Darren and I are, Darren more so than me, but Darren and I are fans of anime. I would say
I'm
this,
sure that surprises so many of you.
like 2 seasons ago is where I would say I got into watching like a bunch of new anime at once. Because before this, I watched like I had like a select few shows that I was like, all right, I'm watching this when it comes out. After that, I'm not watching anything. And a couple seasons ago, I realized that there's just a ton of stuff that people talk about that I'm missing. And things that I have missed. Because I've been watching anime since like Dragon Ball Z days, but if it was on Toonami, I watched it for the most part. But if it wasn't on Toonami, I just didn't watch it. Or Adult Swim. And so, going forward, I think it'd be interesting if Darren and I tried to branch out and try some anime that we've never watched and try and convince each other to check it out. And so what that would mean is that the gaming episodes would, instead of coming out every other week, it would basically be once a month, and then the 2 weeks after that, it would be an anime episode where we convince each other to check out an anime. And we figured that anime is so simple to consume. Because, like, especially if this is basically giving us a month to really dive deep into these games that we're playing, and it would give us a chance to really check out the anime that we'd be interested in. It gives us time to really dive deep and see, is this thing worth the time?
Which is especially important now because of the games that we're potentially looking at. As initially, we wanted to really refine our games that we were choosing to the things that people just had access to because of things like Game Pass and PlayStation Plus and things like that. If we're now potentially going to be branching into an arena where these games are things that will potentially cost money, well, it makes more sense that we'd want to have more time with them, because it's easy to just, oh yeah, I'll download this and I'll play it eventually. Hopefully I get to it before it leaves Game Pass. It's a whole different thing to be like, hey, take the money that you earn at your job and pay for this game. And that's not really something that either one of us take particularly lightly. You know, it's an investment of time and money into something. So if excuse me, if we have a month to prepare, then we have a month to prepare.
Yeah, and like diving deep, like we're still gonna focus on PS Plus, um, and maybe Humble Bundle, but maybe not.
Yeah.
I think we were on that, but until I can't say until Xbox isn't backing down on what they're doing. But
Sounds
for
like
now,
they're doubling down actually.
yeah, the PS Plus catalog is nice because it opens us up to, honestly, a lot of games that we never played as children. And I think that this would be interesting to maybe focus, to do a few more episodes on that, on the Convince Me to Go Back, where we focus on games that we just never thought to try. Maybe there's hidden gems that we missed out on, which I can guarantee you there are. And yeah, I think just putting a heavy emphasis on setting aside time to play these games, really dive deep, and make sure that we can truly speak to it.
Right. Exactly.
And the anime too. There's a ton
Yes.
of anime. Like, I'll scroll through reels and I'll be like, here's an anime you've never heard of, and it's like 12 episodes of just banger after banger episode, and I'm like, I can bang out 12 episodes. That's nothing.
This has become especially interesting with how prevalent, like, Chinese animation has really become in the last year,
Chinese
at least
and
in the
Korean.
mainstream. I mean, Korean has kind of always had a thing here and there. I mean, Tower of God, people really liked. Obviously, Solo Leveling. But just this last year, Chinese-wise, I mean, To Be Hero X, oh God, the whale. The World-Eating Whale or something like that.
I don't know what that is.
Oh my God. I don't know where it is to watch, but I have to find it because it's just the animation from it is stupid.
I know High Dive is another
Stupid.
anime service. Prime has a bunch of shows on there. Hulu
Yeah.
has stuff on there. Like, there's anime all over the place. But yeah, going back and, I wanted to start doing it because upon watching One Piece and like really making progress, I'm like, it makes me like wonder what else have I missed out on, just because I just didn't dedicate the time to it. Now, this isn't to say that we're going to guarantee that we're going to beat or finish all these anime we're watching. We're just going to see, is this anime going to pull us in? Is this game going to pull us in? And if so, even if it doesn't, how can I convince my partner and you guys to give it a shot? Maybe you'll find something. Maybe I don't like it, but you do. So,
It's called The All-Devouring Whale.
that sounds amazing.
I need
So,
to find it.
We that's what we're going to do going forward. Our next episode will still be a gaming episode, but it's going to be a special episode dedicated to Darren,
Pokemon Legends Zeta A.
which we have both finished. We have both finished it, and by finished I mean we both saw credits roll and we proceeded all the way through the story quest as far as they could be taken. So that is a game that we'll be able to like talk in depth about. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I had fun with the who is more likely to. Maybe we'll try and do that more. Please follow us on social medias. It's a matter. I got to get on the putting up clips and things and whatnot. It's fun to rewatch and see what kind of stream of consciousness nonsense was said. And thank you for dedicating any time you have, as always. And with that said,
Are you convinced yet?
well, adios. Oh, jeez. I go staring. No.